Generation Adidas Cup on MLSsoccer.com for the final stream on the final day of the group stage. Generation Adidas Cup Champions Division Group A play. The Giants of Argentina, River Plate, facing off against the Youth Academy team of last year's MLS Cup champions, Toronto FC. We are in Frisco, Texas at the Toyota Soccer Center. The warmest day we've had so far, but the rain has held off just enough for us to get these last games in, and this one's a simple one. Win and go through. I'm David Goss, joined by Bobby Warshaw. Toronto FC sitting in second place on 3 points right now. River Plate a perfect 2-0-0 on 6 points in first place. And Bobby, River Plate has won this competition 3 of the last 4 years. Toronto FC now a chance to take down the Giants and potentially get through to the next round. It's the biggest test as you can get.
This is exactly the kind of game that every player, every young player wants to play in. To play against a club like River Plate with the opportunity to go through to the semifinals of GA Cup. These players for Toronto FC have waited all year for this tournament, and it comes down to this one game. And David, I am excited. I'm looking forward to this.
It's going to be a fun one here between Toronto FC and River Plate. As I mentioned, River Plate, great success in their past here at the Generation Adidas Cup, and they've started out this tournament as they have so many times before, starting out consistent and steady as they build towards a better and better finish for this Toronto FC team. Spencer King in goal in a 4-2-3-1 at right back. Tyson Phillips, Braden Brutsky, and Elijah Lee and Salvatore Mazzaferro compose the rest of the defense. 2 holding midfielders in Kawaki Castro, as well as Mehdi Esusi, an attacking 3 from right to left of Jaden Nelson, Antonio Carlini, and Theo Kerbuno. And then up top, a familiar name to Toronto FC fans, and Mr. De Rosario, not Dwayne, of course, Osazi, his oldest son, the lone American on this TFC roster, but a familiar name to TFC fans as well. Toronto FC beaten in their first game 3-0, came back with a win in their second game against DC United, and trying not to pull off a miracle, but a big, big upset here to go through.
And with the way the rules work at GA Cup, David, if Toronto wins today, they'd be on 6 points. River Plate would be on 6 points. And at that point, it comes down to head-to-head. And since Toronto would have the win over River Plate, Toronto advanced to the semifinals.
Now, playing simultaneous with us, over to our right is DC United versus Eintracht Frankfurt. That score will heavily affect what happens here if Toronto FC is able to take a lead or get a win. So we will keep you updated with all that's happening. If Toronto FC and Eintracht Frankfurt both win, Eintracht Frankfurt would go through on head-to-head with Toronto FC. Potentially would probably come down to goal differential at that point, as you'd have 3 teams tied on 6 points. DC United has played very well throughout this tournament. River Plate just eking out a 1-goal win against them in the first game. Toronto FC as well, struggling to get the win in the last game. An early foul call here, Bobby. There's no questions about it. River Plate, they're going to come out. They're going to come out tenacious. They're going to attack. They're strong and physical and experienced. How does Toronto FC absorb that and play their game?
We spoke about it earlier with Flamengo. Beautiful game, but the truth is, these teams are hard as nails. River Plate as a club is known as a club who fights and competes for everything. So Toronto is not going to be given anything tonight. This is going to be a battle.
So as I said, River Plate sitting on 6 points. They +3 goal differential. Eintracht Frankfurt in second on 3 points with a +1 goal differential, and TFC currently in third with a -1 goal differential. But you got to think the results go the way we're saying. Those goal differentials start to shift, and it gets very, very close for this River Plate team. Matias Montagnio in goal, Manuel Guillen at right back, Roman Suarez at center back alongside Santiago Guindani, Franco Valentini at left back, a 3-man midfield in front of them. On the right side, Antonio Santa Cruz, Nahul Quesada in the middle, and Tomas Castro alongside him. It'll be Lombardi at the number 10, and 2 strikers in front of him, Maidana and Nicolas Belloni in that 2 forward formation, 4-3-1-2. Bobby, what does that tell you, that formation?
It's always fun when you see a 4-3-1-2. It means there's probably old school traditional. You don't have many of them. A lot of times when a player plays number 10, it's for his industriousness or he's got to do other things. But today, River Plate with 3 defensive midfielders has plenty of protection for a true playmaker to do his thing.
And Martin Lombardi wearing that number 10 in the number 10 role for this team. And as you see the world through, the stars of many of these River Plate teams, those 2 strikers up top, who have the ability to create goals by themselves, can be lethal at times when given half a chance. It allows these River Plate teams to defend with numbers when they have to. 35-minute halves here for a 70-minute game. If we're still tied at the end of regulation and stoppage time, we will go directly to penalty kicks. 2 points for a PK win, 1 point for a PK loss. If we get there, River Plate will have qualified for the next round. Currently, 3 international teams have gone through already in Flamengo, Atletico Paranaense, and Pachuca. Ball down the left wing, cross goes through the whole box. Knocked back down right on goal. And the save made safely by King.
Nice reaction by King. David, I want to go back to something you asked earlier, which I didn't really answer with the specific response. And the question was,
chance now once again for River Plate. Save made by King out for a corner with a body down in the middle of the box.
Too much happening early on.
Bobby, you don't get to answer questions. River Plate are answering the questions for us.
Well, this did almost answer the question for me. I was going to say, when you play an international opponent for these MLS clubs, and we've seen it all week, we've talked about it almost every game we've called with an MLS academy versus an international team. The international teams just have a little bit more steel. They've got a little bit more, what word would you use? Firmness to their game. I don't want to call it dirty, but professionalism, gamesmanship.
Yeah, I think professionalism is a very good word for it.
And we talk about our country developing players and Canadian Soccer Federation developing its players. We talk about the technical ability. The fact is that that's part of it too. How do you deal with these new situations? A team playing a new style, being a little harder in tackles, showing a little more gamesmanship, and that's part of the development for these players. Can they deal with the mental element of being put outside their comfort zone by a new opponent? So it's a big opportunity for these kids to learn and show what they're made of.
Corner kick coming now for River. Of course, a laundry list of talent coming through this River Academy as that one's headed away at the near post. A chance now to break for TFC. Urging forward down the left side is De Rosario. He's got a little bit of help. Drops it back now. Curbino, a chance to get on the ball for a second.
I know how happy it makes you to list off the prodigies from the River Academy.
I don't know if it makes me that happy, but, you know, there's a decent amount of good ones. A guy named Gonzalo Higuain up there. I don't know if that's who you put first right now in the world. Probably close.
When you're bought for $90 million, you definitely go to the top of most lists.
Yeah, I would agree. Of course, there'll be many people saying Boca has a better academy, and I'm pretty sure Estudiantes had the most players in the World Cup from any one club as academy. So they would argue. Pretty sure Kun Aguero came through that academy. Ball played into the feet here. Chance to turn and push up the field. De Rosario in a foot race. And that one's met cleanly by Matagnino. Babu, we talked about understanding moments, understanding games throughout. For Toronto FC, you need a win. There's a goal differential factor as well. How much of that is the coaching staff talking to with these players coming into this game?
At this point in the tournament, the coaching staff doesn't have to say much to get these players excited. They're human beings. They know what's on the line. They see both the River Plate crest across from them, but also that they need to win to move on. So these players are going to have the adrenaline running through them, and at that point, it's about the coaches calming them down. Just get them to play like it's any other game and play the style they've been training every single day.
Jaden Nelson missing out on that ball there. And now a chance finally for TFC to get some possession. It's been a very active first half on the ball so far for Corbinu. He's on the ball once again. Slides the ball into the feet of Nelson, whose layoff is intercepted.
Sometimes games like this are very hectic early on, but Toronto's done a nice job of getting on the ball and slowing down the pace. They've looked in control despite the potentially hectic pace it could have been at.
So as I mentioned, Pachuca going through. They just won moments ago, 1-0. FC Dallas knocked off the LA Galaxy, 2-0. So those two teams tied on 6 points at the top of the standings. Pachuca going through on a head-to-head difference as they beat FC Dallas here on Field 4, 2-1 yesterday. And Bobby, tournament soccer can be so tough. One mistake here or there, putting your head down at the end of the game for goal differential, anything like that really changes the way a group shakes out. We've seen almost every team book their tickets so far today into the semifinals. We'll have all 4 of them, 2 in the Premier Division, 2 in the Champions Division on Thursday at Toyota Stadium, as well as here on MLSsoccer.com.
Interesting pressing scheme from River to start here. Toronto tried to split their center backs, and a lot of teams either have one center striker up or a center striker and attacking mid. River had 3 forwards up in a line, ensuring Toronto didn't play out.
It's header 1 there in the hulking midfielder Casada. And you can see across the board for a lot of these teams size advantages for the international squads here at the Generation Adidas Cup. This is a TFC team that has mainly players who are 17, which means they're as old as you can be to be in this competition, born January 1st, 2001 and after. A lot of teams have mixes of 2002s, 2003s as well. Corner kick coming now for River.
Toronto only has 1 player in the front zone and nobody on the post, and they're matching up the top of the box, which leaves a big gap right at the top of the 6-yard box that River's going to try and tack.
Lombardi to take. It's flicked on there in the middle. And then pushed away. As Suzy winning that first header. TFC handling a couple of these corner kicks early on.
That was a slow reaction from Toronto on that throw and a bad sign. Those are the moments when you can tell how prepared and how urgent a team is on a...
This is the 3rd game of the group stage. These teams played on Friday. They had Saturday off. Games yesterday on Sundays. This one comes in. It's headed past the goalkeeper, but a touch in the end for Spencer King. It'll be a corner kick coming. Because of weather tomorrow, the 3rd stage of games was moved up to today. So some of these players returning after less than 24 hours off.
Here we see it again, slow reaction from Toronto on that corner kick. Transition moments are so key in soccer, and right now River is winning them.
Cross played in, knocked down on the top of the box. Corbanu now charging up the field. We've seen him on a couple runs so far today. Mistake there defensively. An opening coming for TFC. The shot comes in and it rolls past the goalkeeper's hand. And Tony Carlini with a goal against the run of play, and TFC has a 1-goal lead early on here in Group A.
Just a fantastic goal. A perfectly executed counter. Carbino dribbles it 50 yards and then slows down and connects, and a great interchange at the top of the box, and such a calm and composed finish. Carlini does so well to pick up his head, find where the goalkeeper is, and just slide it into the side netting.
There was Corbinu that took it basically end-to-end, drops it back. De Rosario with the layoff, and then Carlini with the goal. But Bobby, it hadn't been all River dominant, but TFC very little possession in these opening 10 minutes, and they get a goal on their one chance.
And such a perfectly executed attack. When the time was right for them to go fast and attack with pace and dribble, they did it, and Corbinio did it so well. And then if River got numbers behind the ball, at that point you slow down, you pick up your head, and you find the interchanges. And the Toronto attacking core did a nice job of providing options around the ball and playing quick. That's one of the better goals we've seen all week here.
And so now River put on their heels for the first time this tournament, trailing for the first time here in Frisco. And we'll see how they respond.
And a big decision for Toronto to make right now. So often when teams score early, they recede back into it. They drop in, they get numbers behind the ball. It feels like if Toronto does that, they're just going to get wave after wave from River. So Toronto needs to make a decision, either from the coaching staff or the captains on the field. Do we press, do we stay on the front foot, or do we drop back and soak up pressure right now?
Right now, very early on in this game, it looks like 1v1. TFC offensively is able to take on some of these River Plate defenders. Do you not sit back and try and get in counter situations?
If you feel the counter situations will come, but sometimes when you sit deep, you just get wave after wave and you never actually get out of that shell. So if you have a feeling that...
Shot comes in here, King's able to take it.
If you feel that you can get counters, then go for the counters, but we've all seen those times when it just feels like a team can never get out of their own half.
Corbinu here on the ball. He created the goal with his run. Loses possession there. Almost snuck down the middle of the field there. A chance for Bologna to run onto it. Now TFC will look to work out of their back. Mazzaferro up to Nelson's feet. Osario steps in front. He can't keep possession. Now it's going back the other way, but the flag is up. TFC right now with Kakawiak Castro and Mehdi Asusi in that midfield. Those two players in those two defensive midfield positions, it looks like are going to have a lot of work to do trying to help this team play out as well as protect that back four against these dangerous number 10 in Lombardi.
And we talk about this decision, do we sit deep or do we try and stay They're often the ones who have to make that decision, or at least they provide the core in sitting deep. So if you do continue your pressure, generally for this point, for the next 10 minutes, they will stay conservative. Everyone else can continue their game, but at least the two defensive midfielders need to stay in front of the back four and not allow River to get anything easy in those danger zones.
Kakawiak Castro with the switch of the field. Comes to pick up that ball as well. TFC under some pressure down their left wing. And it goes out in their favor. Mazzaferro, though, getting closed down quickly, Bobby. This River team maybe didn't come out and punch in the mouth the way we expected and the way we've seen in the past. But coming off a goal, you'd expect a reaction from this experienced squad. Headed back into the safe arms and the goalkeeper. "15 minutes played here in the opening half. Group A play the final day. Everything to play for these teams. Is everyone looking for a chance to get to the semifinals and make it into Toyota Stadium, play on that MLS field. We'll have all those games streamed for you on MLSsoccer.com. Toronto FC trying to be the lone MLS representative in the Champions Division. TFC an early lead right now to the goal by Antonio Carlini. River Plate have yet to trail here in this tournament. That one will roll out for a River throw-in. It's been a windy week so far here in Frisco. This, you'd have to say, probably the least effective wind we've had, and it's blowing across the field rather than from behind one goal.
Yeah, just about every game this week, we've had to start off by talking about the wind and how strong it was and which direction it was blowing, but not this game. This game feels like a regular old soccer game.
Yeah, it's not affecting the game, just my papers. Just very friendly. And I appreciate for all these players.
We can see it's starting to happen where TFC is getting pinned back into their own 18.
11 behind the ball right there. De Rosario, the lone forward in his own half defensively.
And not just behind the ball, because they were behind the ball in their middle block to start the game, but now their defense, instead of being 40 yards from their own goal, are starting 20 yards from their own goal.
And you could see the two center backs in Brutski and Lee start to yell to push up. But before they could get out, River had already played a ball over the lines. So a corner kick now coming. It'll be Lombardi to take. Lombardi's left-footed service coming.
You can see on your screen that big open gap at the back of the 6-yard box.
This one up in the box, still alive. Finally cleared by Asusi, who I think has cleared every corner kick so far by himself.
So here's a clear moment of intent. When River has the ball deeper in their own zone, how far up do the Toronto back four get? Right now, they're on their own half of the center circle. Midfield line is just about at the midfield line.
So that, to you, shows TFC doesn't want to come out, and they're staying compact and staying deep.
Well, that was such a clear opportunity, David, and they have their backs to their own goal. You can take 10 or 15 more yards. And I worry if they don't take those 10 or 15 more yards whenever it's afforded to them, this is going to keep on happening when they get pushed back 5 yards, and they're just going to deal with onslaught after onslaught from River, and I don't know how many times Toronto can deal with that.
Well, we're going to see how many corners they can deal with. Another corner kick coming here for River Plate.
And then you know what happens in film that night or the next day? The coach says, guys, it was bound to happen. You know, we need to think ahead of time. Well, this is the opportunity for Toronto to see it ahead of time and take action on the field. These are the problems we need our soccer players to solve in Canada and the U.S.
So it's right-footed service coming this time from Santa Cruz. So Lombardi being pulled off this. A change of pace. The outswinger. Headed away by Nelson. Now De Rosario fighting for possession. A chance to break for TFC. Asusi, the defensive midfielder, in possession. Now Nelson. Nelson looking, find a teammate. He beats two defenders. And he gets it wide to Asusi. Asusi taken down. And it'll be a free kick coming here for TFC. So an effective break.
And David, just make one more point about this and TFC's defensive block and how far up it gets. I could be wrong. It might be the right decision for them to sit down and keep dropping counter. At the end of the game, I would applaud them. Right now, there's worrying signs.
They push numbers forward, and the free kick drops at the near post, or a corner kick coming. TFC pushed numbers forward, and a bit wasted service there. Now a second chance coming for Carlini. He's got the lone goal in this one to give his team a lead. A second goal would really put the pressure on River.
Right now it's
Barutsky, De Rosario in the box. Aim for De Rosario at the near post and swept away by River. Throw-in coming now for TFC. Nelson will leave it for his fullback in Mazzaferro. .35-minute half, so we are past the midway point. 20 minutes played here in this opening period. TFC with a slight one-goal lead. If these results were to stand right now, TFC would go through it head-to-head against River Plate. Eintracht Frankfurt and DC United playing on the field alongside us. You can follow that stream on MLSsoccer.com as well. Carter Augustine joining you over there. De Rosario out wide for Corbinu. Corbinu now charging in once again. Bobby, every time he touches the ball, he seems to find acres of space to work in. Carlini in a battle now with Valentini. TFC starting to knock it around a little bit here in the midfield. But Corbinu set up the goal with his full field run. We've seen a couple dangerous breaks from him so far. Some dangerous battles going on right now in the midfield, Bobby. These two teams with a chance to go through to the semifinal seem to have an understanding of what's at stake.
And Siso has been into so many of those challenges and done such a nice job of either picking up second balls or disrupting what River's trying to do. We see River, particularly the two defensive midfielders who have gotten into passing lanes and disrupted what River wanted to do in their attacks.
River trying to play that ball out wide into the feet now of Asusi. That one stolen away off Nelson's foot. Coming forward now is River. That through ball for Maidana, just a step too far. Phillips coming out of his own back now. Dangerous pass back there from Kakawiak Castro. And Lombardi just beaten to that ball by Bertsky. Ball curled into the far post and over the end line and out. Bobby, we've seen a few teams take different approaches here on this third day. We have seen the wear and tear, or maybe the mental wear and tear, as you've talked about, of these three games. You're the last game of the last day. You played 24 hours ago. You played the next day. What's the conversation like? What's the comments from the coach to try and keep this team from TFC side mentally awake, mentally prepared?
There's not a ton you can say at this point right before a game. It really has to be who you are as a club and as a team. Because if you train that way and say, we're not going to allow mental lapses, if we're going to make sure we're focused every second of every day in training, then it's much easier to do every day in a game. And it's a huge demand to ask these young players to do it 3 or 4 days. It's a big demand to ask professionals. I mean, most of the problems with professional players comes not from physical tiredness, but mental tiredness. It's the same thing for these 17-year-olds. But yeah, once it gets to this point, there's not a lot you can say. It has to be who you are in training every single day.
River Plate pushing forward here, trailing for the first time in this tournament. Trying to get themselves into the semifinals to protect their title here. They've consistently won this championship since they've been invited here to Frisco, Texas. The free kick goes against. It'll be an opportunity for TFC to clear their lines. Bobby, about 15 minutes since the goal, what have you seen from these two teams as a reaction?
Good reaction from both clubs. River has taken the initiative since the goal. They've gotten on the ball more. But Toronto has also looked solid. They had a clear game plan coming into the game, both defensively and offensively, and they've stuck to it.
This ball clipped over the top, a chance coming here for River. And the flag is up as the ball hits the back of the net. This River Plate team cannot believe it. Baloney there, getting behind the back line. You saw how clinical he was with the chance, but that flag goes up.
For a second there, I thought you were calling the call baloney.
Definitely like, not. Never
move
from me.
On air, David.
A turnover here in a dangerous spot. Another chance now coming. Phillips comes in, wins the strong tackle. No call made, and now he can break away. There isn't really an option, Bobby, for this team to outlet long as De Rosario drops back for the ball. No TFC player on the attacking half of the field to play it up to.
Yeah, I've enjoyed watching De Rosario's movement. He hasn't always gotten it right, but he's been working to find the contrast between when to come and support short for a ball to his feet and when to duck in behind and when to fake short and go long. It's clearly something he thinks about and works on. And it'll be a big, as you mentioned, it'll be a big part of determining TFC's success is how often he gets that decision right.
Corner kick coming, Lombardi back on service. Left-footed in-swinger. Asusi's won basically every one of these so far. King comes out, he punches, it's over his head and it's in the goal. Spencer King out off his line, wasn't able to win the first ball. And River continuing to battle, and they put it in the goal.
I spoke earlier about that gap right in the center of the Toronto 6-yard box in a space for River to attack, and that's what happened there. When the ball went there, nobody from TFC really accountable. Everyone man marking, has to backtrack. At that point, it's just a bunch of 50-50 battles and it can go either way.
TFC trying to protect the lead. And River Plate took them 15 minutes to finally answer as they get the goal to move into a tie. And right now, first place still in Group A.
Oh, lovely turn there in the middle of the field. Kakowiak Castro.
A chance to counter now. Lombardi for the feet of his center forward.
A pretty consistent pattern of play from River Plate is that we talked about having the true playmaker in a 4-3-1-2, and it's when he gets on the ball in between the Toronto midfield and back line, the forwards try and run across the center backs, and he's trying to slip the ball into the channels in between the center backs or the center backs and the outside backs.
Bobby, you mentioned we don't see this lineup that much. You don't see a lot of traditional number 10s. Not just this formation, but when you come out and you see a team playing in a unique way, what do players out on the field do to adjust?
Every player handles it differently, and that's often what determines how good a player is. Some players see it right away, and it usually isn't that much, David. Usually it's just a yard here, a yard there, a second faster, slower. But that's what makes all the difference in this game.
And that ball slipped in. No one on the end of that one. And when you talk about this formation, traditional number 10, those two strikers out there, both potent goal scorers that want to run that back line. What can TFC do to slow this down?
When he gets on the ball, the number 10 Lombardi for River, they just need to compact horizontally 3 or 4 yards. They just need to understand what River's trying to do. They need to see these runs coming off their shoulders because it's hard to actually see the run. You just have to anticipate that it's coming and get more compact from left to right and decrease the yardage in between you and your teammate.
Free kick called back behind the play. So a set piece chance coming here for River. They scored off a corner just 2 minutes ago to tie this game up after an early goal from Antonio Carlini gave TFC a short lead. TFC with a win here would move in to the semifinals. River would win the group with a win here as well, or a tie. Set piece coming now. It's Santa Cruz on the ball.
A deep line from Toronto. It's going to be another 50-50 right around the goalkeeper.
Over Phillips, alive on the far post. It hits the crossbar. Still alive in the box, and finally a foul called in TFC's favor.
Fantastic save by King. Incredible reactions. The ball is right on top of him. He gets to the side, and then again.
I think he touched that second one. I think it was a double save.
We're definitely going to give him that double save. If he didn't touch it, he got in the way and altered the shot. That is exactly what you want to see from a goalkeeper. Great shot stopping on the first one, but then to get up and react quickly, that's something goalies work on every single day in training, and he executed it so well when it counted.
We see River score just 2 minutes ago off a set piece. King struggling to clear his lines that time, but 2 huge saves there to keep his team in this game.
And David, I pointed out how deep that line was and what was coming. And I'm a few years older than this Toronto team, but if I know it's coming, they too should be able to recognize it. When we talk about solving problems on the field, you just, at some point, you need to realize, hey, we're too deep, we're gonna be on top of our goalkeeper, and this is gonna be a 50-50 scrum that determines whether they score or not. I'll be interested to see if the players on the field make an adjustment for the next River Plate corner kick, or free kick, I should say.
River Plate here, just a few minutes left in this first half. They've controlled most of the possession. But quite honestly, Bobby, they've really only been dangerous on set pieces. I think in the run of play, TFC's kept most of the game in front of them.
They certainly have. But at the end of the day, if you give up a few set piece goals, you're in trouble.
Set piece goals don't count for as much.
Is that the new rule?
Yeah, they're like 0.5.
Oh, okay.
So TFC leading 1.5 here. That'd be an interesting adjustment to the sport. You'd have a lot less Greece's 2004s and Portugal's 2016. I hope Eric Gonzalez isn't listening to this broadcast right now.
What would Alexi Lawless talk about?
Yeah, exactly. There'd be no value left. So substitution made by River here. As the sun pokes out across this field 4. The final games of day 3 of the group stage here at the Generation Adidas Cup. These players have played all season to qualify to get here as Toronto FC won the Central Region qualifying in first place ahead of FC Dallas, as well as Sporting KC, who are also in this Champions Division. Columbus Crew SC and Houston rounding out that qualifying group. River Plate, one of the international invites to this tournament. Not much of a surprise to see them here once again. They've consistently been a dangerous team in this competition. River Plate, the winners of the Champions Division in 2017, in 2016, and in 2015. So Bobby, you get invited back if you just keep winning the thing.
I was gonna say that. Do you get like the Masters, an automatic invite once you're a champion?
I would say yes, but I don't know anything about the Masters. I'm not as Mechanicsburg as you. Not as classy. David Goss and Bobby Warshaw here alongside the field at the Toyota Soccer Center for this one. Toronto FC, a goal, you could say, against Toronto play in the 11th minute for Antonio Carlini, then a 28th minute goal by Santiago Guindani, the center back for this River Plate squad. And right now that has River going through to the next round. Eintracht Frankfurt and DC United playing on the field alongside us, but if River ties or wins this game, that result won't matter much. Offside flag goes up. Bobby, take me into Benoit Cheroux and this TFC huddle for halftime. Early lead, you give it up, but you can see you can play with this team, maybe not toe-to-toe in the style you'd like. What's the message? What's the focus?
It's going to be very positive. Toronto should feel good about their first half. Scoring the goal, obviously, and being tied at the chance to win the second half, but the general process and product of what they're putting out has been good too. They've been comfortable on the ball. They've been dynamic in the counterattack. This has been a very even game, and any team has a chance to win in the second half.
For River, they've already made one substitution here. Do you see any major changes, tweaks coming from them in the second half?
I would expect them to press Toronto in the second half. One thing we haven't mentioned is that the wind has been slightly at Toronto's back in this half, forcing River to play into it. It's picked up as the half has gone on, and almost every team in this tournament who has had the wind at their backs has pressed the opposition. So I would expect River Plate to press much higher than Toronto has.
Baloney down the right wing. Looks for the layoff, but it's blocked away, and then Nelson goes down to the ground.
One last point on the idea of pressing is that there hasn't been a single team that didn't press that won in the games we've covered. Every team that has high pressed when they had the wind at their back has been the victor. And whether that team would have won and was a better team anyway, we could talk about, but it's a continuous trend that the teams that have pressed higher and pressed better have been the winners.
Well, that's the whistle. An up and down first half. TFC with an 11th minute lead. And for a few moments, they were going through to the semifinal. And then Guindini with the goal. Bobby, a counterattack Well played by TFC, and Carlini with the goal. And then the goal back the other way. King not able to clear his lines as he comes out, and the looping header finds the back of the goal. Toronto FC and River Plate. Everything left to play for. We'll be back here on MLSsoccer.com with your second half action in just a few minutes. So the two teams back out on the field for the second half here. The final game of the group stage. Group A, all to play for as River Plate currently in first place, leading Toronto FC 1-1 in this game, which puts River in first place in the group. But TFC have led once already today. Question is, can they do it again? I'm David Goss, alongside Mr. Bobby Warshaw here in Frisco, Texas. FC Dallas's home field as King comes out and takes that one in front of the arms of the River Plate team. Bobby, TFC gets the early goal. They were able to defend it for 15 minutes in that first half before River Plate scored. What do you look for here in these opening minutes of the second half?
These 5 or 10 minutes should probably be the same approach from Toronto FC, but as we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, they do need to win. They need all 3 points. So at some point, they'll need to go for the game winner, and I'm interested to see when that is and how they do it. I would guess it'll be with 10 minutes left in the game, and what subs they'll make will be interesting.
A meg there on De Rosario, but it goes out. Currently 0-0 on the field behind us between DC United and Eintracht Frankfurt. Right now, if River Plate stays tied or wins, it won't matter. They will win the group. If TFC can get one more goal and get a victory, then a Frankfurt win would make it a 3-way tie for first place. Should bring it into goal differential. If DC United could get any sort of result, then TFC would be through with a head-to-head victory over River Plate. It looks like one change for TFC coming out here in the second half as they've brought in a change along the back line. A dangerous high boot, it looked like there.
The classic halftime right back switch, David. You've never seen that one before?
Well, naturally, because you're gonna, change up the game. Phillips was playing there in the first half, and now it looks like Halley is there in the second half. Phillips struggled a little bit, some 1v1 play, as River pushed a bunch of their attack down their left wing, so that change made by the TFC coaching staff at halftime. Each coaching staff has 5 substitutes that they can use. These 35-minute halves, 70-minute games that lead directly to penalty kicks. River trying to break through. Elijah Lee there with the tackle. Now Lombardi over to take. River already 1 goal off a corner kick here in this game. Another opportunity coming. Lombardi strikes it up to the far post, and King at full extension reaches up and pulls it in.
We talked about the end of the first half. Here comes River with their press. Toronto now playing into the wind. Most teams have struggled and played into the wind, trying to play out of the back.
River didn't press heavily in that first half. TFC some opportunities to play out of the back. Ball comes flying into our broadcast booth. Bobby Warshaw looks to get a small touch, and accidental but useful touch there from De Rosario. Susi stepping forward now into midfield.
I've been very impressed with the Zuzi's composure under pressure today. There's been a lot of times when Rivers tried to compact that middle and win the balls off Toronto in the middle of the field, but he's kept his composure each time and connected his passes.
River starting to charge forward now. Lee with the tackle, and the whistle finally blows. This River team, it was an own goal against DC United in the first game that got them their first win. 2 goals by Beltran in the second game. He was on the bench for this one, as well as a goal for Paz, who's also on the bench. So this River team looking at a new set of stars to get them through this game. This one straight on goal, easily taken by King.
I just want to say for all the MLS wonks out there that Lombardi looks exactly like Guilherme Schelotto.
He is the look-alike, especially with the hair and the way he runs.
I'm glad you saw that too.
No, absolutely. He came over to take a corner kick right here and felt like you were looking into a time machine. Guillermo Schelotto currently, who does he coach? River's biggest rival, Boca Juniors. Head coach of arguably the biggest team in South America or Argentina, but that's an argument that probably would never end if we started. I'd enjoy listening to it. Schelotto.
Keep your voice down a little bit. Keep your voice down, dude.
Schelotto, of course, playing with Columbus Crew SC, went back to coach Lanús, the team he came through, and was a legendary player for Boca Juniors as well. This one's flicked over the top. It'll be a goal kick now. Bobby River, 1 goal already on a corner, but they've been dangerous time and time again.
It's something we talked about in the first half, and they've been dangerous in the same way. It's not particularly inventive or creative. They are simply whipping balls that land somewhere near the middle of the goal. And Toronto hasn't figured this out yet.
What do you do? What's the fix? Just play a zone and put all your players in that area?
That's one option. Right now, the other easy thing is you have somebody in the front zone, and they have not had an issue getting over that. It's clearly something they work on often in training, and they're getting over the front zone, so just drop that zone deeper. Or add a second person on zone. They're winning all the 50-50 balls whenever you man mark. So at some point you say, what good does it do us to man mark, and you just drop someone into that zone.
Nelson wins the first header. De Rosario, the accidental touch after getting kicked. Now a free kick coming here for TFC, taken quickly. Asusi goes wide to Halley. Turnover and the ball coming back the other way.
David, Halley answers 2 questions at once. We wondered why they subbed their right back at halftime, but we also were wondering what adjustments are they going to make to get a goal that they need to get the 3 points here. And Halley is a more attacking right back. Early on, just in the first 7 minutes of this half, we've already seen him in a more advanced position than Phillips. And that's one option that's used now in 2018 more than ever, is that when teams want more attack, they send their outside backs into more advanced positions. They essentially have wingers play as outside backs because now often the space is found out wide. So particularly since they've got 2 defensive midfielders in Asusi and Kekowiak Castro, it gives more allowance to the outside backs to get forward, which is what Halley has done so far in this first half.
Borutsky coming forward from center back to give a little bit more size. This free kick won by Corbinu. Substitution here coming for River. And it looks like the nucleus of this whole thing, Lombardi, off the field. Free kick played in, headed away by River, and now looking to counter. Nelson over to defend. He's able to at least hold up that River attack. Chance now down the end line. The ball played to the top of the 6. Asusi gets whatever he can to it. And I believe an offside call will go here against Bologna, as after that ball clipped back into the box, he was in an offside position. But chaos there on the back line for TFC.
A great read by Ree. You can see number 5 stepping over, reading the play, and gets in to block the shot. A great advanced read by Lee to save the goal.
River right back on the attack now. The substitutes bringing some emphasis and energy. It was Luciano Paz who came on for Lombardi. He had a goal in the last game against Eintracht Frankfurt.
Interesting to see Toronto opt out of playing out of the back here. For reference, at the under 17 level, most clubs have tried to play out of the back. They see it as a point of development. They want their young kids to try to play out, not at all costs, but even under adversity to build the skills. But Toronto not even trying in this moment, feeling that they have to go for the win in the second half.
But Bobby, I'd say one of the most frustrating things we've seen in this tournament is young players not even attempting to recognize when to play out of the back and when not to, just to do it 100%.
I was reserving judgment there because I understand what the coaches are trying to do. They're trying to say this is our philosophy as a club from top to bottom, and when the stakes aren't that high here at the junior level, we want you to do it. We want you to learn to deal with this, because if you lose here, it's fine, but if you get a little bit better to help us as the first team, that's what we're looking for.
But Bobby, if Toronto FC's academy player goes down to El Volcan and tries to play out of the back against Tigres in the second half and makes a mistake and you lose in CCL, these are the moments where you say, that's not what you do against a team of this quality or a team of this style, learning how to adjust to those moments and winning big games.
It's certainly criticism. I mean, the counter to that would be, how do you ever learn to play out of the back if you don't do it in tough times like this?
I wish you didn't come back with a counter, and now we're in a dilemma.
This is why
this is fun. This is why this week, these 2 weeks, but also what is done in Major League Soccer at the academy level with the player competition department, with the player relations department, is fun, because these are just debate. There's no right answers. I mean, Johan Cruyff has all the right answers. He can no longer give those to us. Besides that, no one truly knows.
And our other job, David, when we're not commentating, is to be analysts and try and dissect the right and wrong decisions from coaches. And it's important for us to realize that there often aren't right and wrong. We have to do our best to say and to judge, but you're right, there usually is not a clear answer.
Well, we were talking to some executives before this about building teams, and they say, in the moment you think you're right, and when you look back while you're trading a guy away, you say,
and then we crush them
what
out.
Was I thinking? And yeah, they crushed themselves.
And then we use that wonderful thing called hindsight.
Our lives, Bobby, are always 20/20, of course. Life is so simple, especially when you're the research bear, Mr. Ben Bear. You can follow him on Twitter, BenBear89. He's got all your updates throughout this competition on MLSsoccer.com. We will have 4 streams on Thursday of some of the highest level youth competitive soccer you can see. We'll have 2 more streams coming on Saturday with the finals back-to-back at Toyota Stadium, as a yellow card will come here to Carlini. We'll have the Premier Division as well as the Champions Division in the next round. Montreal will play against Seattle in one semifinal, and then we'll have Monterrey facing off against unknown team, currently Red Bulls leading.
Here on that first River goal, we talked about how the Toronto defense was too deep. They've stepped up their line 2 yards. They've called the question and come up with an answer.
And that shot driven over the crossbar.
It's so important we give props to players in moments like that. They addressed what hurt them on that first goal, and they fixed it. Very well done to this group of young Toronto players.
Toronto FC a lead in the 11th minute, and then giving up the equalizer in the 28th. They've worried River Plate. River bringing back on one of their stars, Paz, who was getting a rest here on this second day of the back-to-back. You think the River Plate coaching staff a little bit confident, trying to get themselves out of the group stage with a little bit of rest for their star players. Susi looking to close there. He finally gets that ball clipped away. Up the line now for Nelson. Nelson's got De Rosario in front of him. A monstrous tackle there by Ramon Suarez. An offside flag goes up, but Suarez there in open space. The center back stepping up and making the play.
Davro had made a great run into the channel to take away the defenders, and it gave Nelson the opportunity to cut inside. And if Suarez hadn't made that tackle, Nelson would have tons of space to attack.
Great touch there from Paz to get around Carlini and knock that ball away. Chance now to get down the line once again. We have seen River be so dangerous coming down that left wing. It led to a substitution at halftime at right back for TFC. They still haven't completely fixed the problem. Bobby, about 15 minutes played here in the second half. TFC, I think, more steady than they were in the first half. Obviously not a goal to defend. What do you make of the performance so far from these two teams?
River's done what they have to do. They've controlled most of the game, but right now they're tied, and that's all they need to advance. The more interesting story right now is Toronto, who came out, got the early goal, but as we're worried about, has kind of receded deeper and deeper and are struggling to get on the ball right now. At some point, they need to score. They should feel good about their performance so far. River's a very good team, and they've given themselves a chance, but now they need to find a way to win.
Only the winners of each group move into the semifinals. River Plate, as I said, the winners of this tournament the last 3 years running. If they can get into the semifinals again, they've got a lot of Brazilian opposition to face off against.
If you saw your screen there are only 4 River players in attack. The ball's at the top of the Toronto 18. River had a chance to score, and yet there are only 4 River players. That means the other 6 were still behind the ball. River clearly taking no chances. They're tied right now. They're advancing as it stands. And it's interesting to see River make this tactical choice with 20 minutes left to shut down this game.
And if that's the case, TFC's at some point going to have to break down this River block. Now, River was caught on the counter. On the goal, they did concede, so clearly recognizing their deficiencies there and looking to adjust. Corbinu here had 2 goals in the last game, helped set up the goal in this one. Gets it down the right wing. Guillen back out, though, to defend. And now a free kick coming for TFC, just outside the box on the left side.
Tough decision for the referee, an elbow to the head, and he goes with the yellow card. Could have easily been a red card, David. We'll need to see whether it was an elbow or just a forearm pushing off the player.
Conversation there. So now, a heavy conversation between that official and these River players. Second yellow card of this half. It'll be Carlini sitting on this one. The right-footed service to the top of the box. Asusi, the long first touch, and then his shot deflected. And now River breaking out in numbers to put some pressure on. All the way back to King. King jets it away just in time. And now TFC looking to break back the other way. Carlini into the feet of Asusi. Bobby, you like that set piece in that moment?
Yeah, this was executed poorly. Asusi, who's been very tidy all game, let his first touch get away from him.
Ball now in the box. Nelson looking for an opening. It's poked away, and it'll go out for a goal kick here to River. Don't you want to play that free kick on the ground in space where you can hit it first time?
What they were trying to do is, if River doesn't step up, Asusi takes 1 touch and has a goal from 20 yards. But if River does step, then he's just trying to loft it back post. He's just changing the angle a little bit. And given River's success on set pieces so far, I'm okay with Toronto trying to provide a little something different to mix it up.
River Plate will take this scoreline. TFC still needs 1 more here to push themselves into first place in the group. Eintracht Frankfurt and DC United still locked in at 0-0. All Mazzaferro could do was to push that one down the line, and in the end, it works out as a corner kick for TFC. TFC set piece chance coming here. Carlini went. Ball on the ground to the top of the box on the last one. Big bodies forward for TFC. Alive now on the far post, put back into the box, still bouncing around. Nelson with the shot is blocked. Asusi with the follow-up, and a foul called before then. Nelson goes down in a heap, trying to take a shot as that ball came out. And the free kick called against him. As you see here, not a great punch. A chance for TFC in the box, and then Nelson second to that ball. Gets all of the man. Corbinu had a moment in the box on that second ball. He's the leading goal scorer for this team. Just couldn't find his feet to get some power on that shot. But Bobby, dangerous opportunity there for TFC.
And it all started with just a perfectly taken free kick from Carlini. The proper distance in between the goal and the 18 that just teased the goalkeeper out just a touch. But once the goalkeeper's out, as we saw on the River goal,
yeah, it was reminiscent, although Montagninu was able to get himself back into frame, and River Plate had a line of defenders. Bobby, you have to think as TFC gets more and more chances, River's going to sit deeper and try and be a little bit more defensive in this game. They've got 2 subs coming in. TFC about to bring one on themselves. Into the feet of Corbinu. Corbinu now coming across the field. Tries to get into the path of Nelson. Nelson's got help from Carlini if he finds him. Nelson battling in the corner. Gets it to the feet of Corbinu, who tries to let that ball run. But it's handled well defensively by Santa Cruz, and then cleared all the way down the field. TFC growing in confidence here in the last 5 minutes. They've got 13 minutes left. If they can score, they would win the group. Currently, River going through in first place. Lee taken down as he got that ball into Kakawia Castro's feet. A foul call there against Paz, and he picks up a yellow card. We mentioned how much these players have had to play. You really expect fatigue to set in mentally and physically here at some point as this game wears along, and River trying to cycle through some players here to get some fresh legs on the field. So it looks like Bologna's coming off.
that's it for Bologna.
You were excited to say that one. I was waiting to hear.
I was deciding whether it was appropriate.
With the Bobby Warshaw. I just made you a bit more Boston than you have ever been. Well, this River Plate team bringing on a few new weapons. Lucas Beltran, the number 9, who had 2 goals in the last game, will come in up top. Bobby, to be able to bring your leading goal scorer and your natural starting forward off the bench in a game where TFC now has to commit numbers forward, it's a pretty good option for this River Plate coaching staff. Their head man, Guillermo Rivarola. Halley drops it back. Now Lee. Kakawia Castro. He loses out on that battle, and the free kick will go against him as Nahul Casada won that one-on-one battle. Was there any weakness, any specific area you've seen for TFC that you target here over these final 10 minutes?
I knew you were going to ask me that, and I've been
And you
thinking
don't
about
have
it.
one.
And I was going to ask you to preempt you asking me, because the answer is
The answer is it might not matter if River gets a second.
I don't see any clear way that TFC catches a goal, because they've been most dangerous on the counter through Nelson, Carbino, and Dero. But River's keeping 5-6 players back at all times. River's being so intelligent on how to see out a game. They've got talented attackers who can do it with just 2 or 3 of them, and they can keep numbers back so they don't get exposed.
Corner kick curled in. It goes over Lee's head and just past the outstretched foot of Beltran.
And here you can see on your screen at the top, it's 6 white jerseys and no red jerseys. River is being so disciplined in how they're approaching the end of this game.
TFC made the 1 substitute as well, bringing on some attacking verve in Ryan Robinson as that ball goes over the top of the goal. So Robinson coming in. It looks like in place of the goal scorer, Carlini, to bring some fresh legs to this TFC squad. Free kick will now go for River. Bobby, TFC started to find their legs over the last 10 minutes. They controlled possession. They had it in the attacking third. Now the wind picking up a little bit, but also River bringing on those fresh legs. They're starting number 9. They seem to have that energy now to see this game out.
They absolutely do. It's definitely advantage River.
This ball curled in, and it flies over everyone and out.
And what I would say the best thing for Toronto to do at this point is actually somewhat counterintuitive. Don't force it. Don't get over anxious to get that goal, because I don't see the way through for that. They're not going to overpower River. They're not going to catch him on the break. Just put your foot on the ball and slow down. Because in River sitting deep, there's a chance that they get complacent. They think they can see out this game just by sheerly having the numbers back. So if you can put your foot on the ball and connect, there might be a way through that River defense right now.
At some point, if you're TFC, do you have to pull your back line up a little higher? Take that risk of maybe getting beat behind to move the game into that attacking half?
Well, you read my mind. That's the second part of this. If you can get your foot on the ball, and if you can get River to retreat just a little bit, that's where a guy like Halley at outside back becomes an advantage. Once you have time to get him forward into the attack out wide, then you can start to find space against this River team.
Paz will take this one. We've seen River be dangerous from similar situations.
Toronto way, way too deep on this.
And Paz looked like going for goal, trying to catch King cheating. They're not able to. Di Rosario won't be able to catch up to this one, and it rolls out. But King able to recover there and punch. Final 10 minutes or so of group stage play here at the Toyota Soccer Center complex. We'll be inside the stadium on Thursday and Saturday. 6 more games coming for you. The semifinals in both the Premier and Champions division, as well as the final games. TFC looking for a late goal here to sneak their way into the semifinals. Paz with the service. Headed away at the near post by Toronto. Paz looking to switch the field. Halley with the win. And now River attacking down the left side. Halley and Fernandez collide. Halley coming away with it. Another cross played in. Great win there by Kakawick Castro. And now Masafero clears it up the field. Lee, the center back, pushing forward. Beltran in a foot race now. He brings it down. The leading scorer for River Plate away in the box. And Borutsky able to do just enough to keep him off.
Such great body control by Beltran. When the ball is bouncing like that, generally the best thing you can do is find the opposition and just throw off his balance. If you get control of the other person's body, you're generally the first to the ball, and that's exactly what we saw there from Beltran.
Substitute back behind the play as River take the corner kick. De Rosario, the center forward, off the field. We will let you know who comes on as soon as we get confirmation.
I know Toronto doesn't want to give up a goal here, but they only have one player forward. And this is one time when River only has two guys back. This would be a key counter opportunity in moments like this when they get it to the near post, but they have no real outlet. We talk about how do you find a late goal. Those are the decisions that you have to make. And I would have liked to have seen Toronto keep an extra body forward and take a little bit of a risk there.
Jason Russell-Rowe coming on as River breaks into the box. That ball across the field, but across the goal line and out.
And Russell-Rowe, one of the higher rated players in the Toronto FC Academy. As you said, with Beltran coming on for River, that's a nice ace card for Toronto to bring on with 5 minutes left.
Jason Russell-Rowe, one of the youngest players on this team. He will get just about 10 minutes to try and make a difference for the Reds. Toronto FC, as I mentioned, winning the Central region in qualifying. That alone, Bobby, a huge step up for this team that had struggled to get in the Champions Division over the last few years. We've got a number of players that can get some experience with TFC2, and now a chance to be the lone MLS representative in the semifinal if they can create a goal from somewhere here in these last few minutes. Elijah Lee does just enough to guide that ball out.
Very nice by Lee. Knew he couldn't match Beltran for pace, so as we just talked about, he finds Beltran, gets his body in front of Beltran, so pace no longer matters since he has the positioning.
TFC right now can't play out their back line. Beltran snuck through, he's onside, in on goal, and he finishes it. And that's all she wrote.
And we can see here that Toronto thought Beltran was offsides, but Masafero keeps him on. Masafero was a few yards behind the rest of his back line. Beltran read it and was onside the entire time. A great run by the River forward and a clean finish.
And you see it coming here. It was the left back Masafero who kept him on. Lucas Beltran with his third goal of the tournament, third in 24 hours. He comes off the bench, Bobby, and he secures the group championship for this River Plate squad.
A disappointing ending for a Toronto team that had done well throughout the game. They hadn't looked that threatening, but for the most part, they kept River under control. They gave themselves a chance to win at the end, and there that little loss of focus from Masafero, failing to stay in line with the rest of his defense, that's what cost us. We talked earlier in the game about these mental lapses will decide who wins and loses at this level. That's exactly what it was there.
TFC battled all game. Even if they're able to score one, a tie would mean River Plate go through to the next round. So Flamengo and Atlético Paranaense from Brazil, River Plate from Argentina, and Pachuca from Mexico will be the Champions Division semifinal. On the other side, Seattle Sounders will face off against the Montreal Impact in the Premier Division, and Monterrey still awaiting to see who they will face off with. Bobby, this TFC team battled. When you're this coaching staff after this game, what's your comments about this group stage as a whole in this game?
Benoit Cheroux, head coach of Toronto, should just be very honest. He should say, guys, you played well, I'm proud of you, but River's better. If we want to get to a higher level, this is what it looks like. We now know we have to strive for and the little things we have to do.
What have you enjoyed the most or been impressed by the most overall in our first 3 days of coverage here?
I've mentioned it a lot tonight, and it's been really interesting to see how these younger players deal with and solve the problems on the field. We talked about the set pieces for Toronto and how they adjusted and how great it was to see it. Every game has had something like that. And you take it for granted at the professional level because pros know how to make them, and it's fun to see how these kids learn at 17.
River breaking to the box once again. Beltran trying to make it two, and he puts that one just wide. But you can see what he did against Eintracht Frankfurt in the last game, what he's going to try and do in the semifinals and finals to make it 4 straight years for River Plate to win the championship here at the Generation Adidas Cup. Breaking into the box once again, and this shot goes just wide. Bobby, Seattle against Montreal in the Premier Division. We've had a chance to cover those two teams. How do you see that matchup? We know some great individual stars for Seattle, but this Montreal team started out with a loss, started out with a win against Colorado, lost their second game, and then battled back against Philadelphia today to win the group in the last few minutes.
That was one of the more fun games we've seen this week. Montreal so excited to get that winner at the end to move on. It really is a clash of two different kinds of teams. Montreal will try and build. They're really predicated on midfield strength, whereas Seattle is a run and gun squad. Yes, they have ability to pass and play out of the back, but their strength is up top with Serrano and Vargas and Robles. Very, very skillful players who can make anything happen at any moment.
When we saw Flamengo, a similar performance to this River team in calling it professional, strikers up top that can get the job done somewhat by themselves, central midfield that was defensive predicated to clog the lines. Which of the four teams in the Champions Division do you see as the favorites going forward?
That Flamengo team was just so powerful. Pachuca's fun to watch because they're creative and dynamic, but when you come up with a team again that's as disciplined and strong through the midfield and the back line, and has players like Rodrigo and Ryan up top who can just make something happen out of nothing. We saw that goal from midfield from Rodrigo.
Yes, Bobby did not misspeak. Rodrigo scored from the midfield line exactly in this game today.
I mean, come on. And it wasn't just that. Flamengo is just so defensively strong.
Hallie gets to the end line. Shot coming here for TFC, and it trickles in. Toronto FC now will run to grab the ball here in stoppage time. It was the substitute coming on here in Robinson as Haley, Bobby, you talked about it all second half, got to the end line. Mistake on the clearance. Robinson's shot, maybe it hit the back of the feet of either a River Plate defender or Russell Rowe.
And that's what we were waiting for all half. We talked about why did they bring on Haley at right back at halftime. It was for that, to get forward, to get around the side, get to the end line and get crosses off.
And Bobby, I think I can guarantee you one thing this week. River Plate is going to soak every last second out of this game that they can here. TFC in a scramble. A tie will send us to penalty kicks, but it'll just be a matter of standings at that point as River Plate will have sealed the group. If TFC loses and wins in penalties, Eintracht Frankfurt will be in penalties off to our right. Every team will play 5 games here, and so if you're in second place, you play the other second place teams, third place, and so on. As that's it. Toronto FC, a valiant effort in this one, Bobby. Not enough in the end as we head to penalties.
Toronto should feel okay about their performance. As we said, they just weren't as good as River today. They didn't deserve to move on, but that's okay. They got lessons from this weekend, from this game, that they can then take on to their future careers.
Now they've got to go to penalty kicks. As I said, River already won the group, and now these teams will go to PKs. Eintracht Frankfurt and DC United on the other field.
What's the scenario here for penalty kicks? River has won the group.
Yeah.
Who can get second in the group?
So, as of right now, it hasn't finished yet. Eintracht Frankfurt and DC United are tied 0-0. So that game now headed to penalties as well. If Eintracht wins the PK shootout and TFC loses the PK shootout, Eintracht gets it. If Eintracht and TFC both win the PK shootout, Eintracht gets it. If TFC wins and Eintracht and DC United wins the PK shootout, then Toronto FC gets it.
There's something that feels so much better about getting second in your group and playing other second-place teams than being third in your group and playing other third-place teams. So Toronto didn't win this game or win the group, but they certainly want to win penalties.
There's also no way to simulate this. So when you talk about young players developing and learning and the value of this, There's no way to simulate a PK shootout. Yes, it's always nerve-wracking, but a live game against River Plate under the lights, streaming on the illustrious MLSsoccer.com with David Goss and Bobby Warshaw on the call. Fans out here to watch. This is a great opportunity for these players to get practice.
It's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that, but you're spot on. Canada will one day be in a World Cup in penalty kicks, and they're going to remember this day in Frisco, Texas with David Goss on the call.
That's why I went to Northeastern, the Stanford of the East. That's what everyone calls it. So penalty kicks upcoming in this one, although a little bit of a break for these players right now. Bobby, what do you think of the no ties PKs instead in a group stage?
I don't have a strong feeling, but for the most part, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it's avoided insane goal differential situations where it came down to who can beat the fourth place team the most, which is always terrible to see in any tournament, you know, full professional all the way down. We've seen other situations where tournaments have tried to make it where if there's a three-way tie, you eliminate the result against that third team and it becomes a mini table. I think I like that idea as well.
Where have you seen that?
I've seen that in major tournaments. Now you're going to ask me what, and I can't remember. I think it may have happened at Euros.
Okay.
You don't think I'm right. I know that there have been major tournaments that have done
I think
that.
you're lying to the people.
No, I would never lie to the people. I am the people, Bobby. You, former professional soccer player, elite, I'm just a muggle. I just live among the people. We will, of course, go into your old stomping grounds, Toyota Stadium, for the semifinals coming up on Thursday. We'll start out with Seattle-Montreal, which should be a great game. As you mentioned, Montreal, an unbelievable midfield trio and some special strikers up top. A mix of both American and Canadian players on that team. And then we'll see Monterrey face off against what is now currently the New York Red Bulls in first place in their group. If they can get a draw, whether they win or lose in PKs, they will win the group against the Chicago Fire, who are currently 0-2. If not, it could be Monterrey or San Jose after that.
I'd just like to add that it is a gorgeous night here in Frisco. The wind is basically just a light breeze that feels excellent. The clouds over the orangish blue sky is gorgeous. We're here for penalty kicks, Toronto River. This is a joy. I'm happy to be here with you, David.
Wow, Bobby, I'm glad you came to that realization during the PK shootout of the final game of the first 3 days that we have been here. That feels good. So TFC will step up to shoot first. Not much of a surprise who they chose to go with. So Toronto FC will start this shootout. Corbino with the right-footed shot. And he chips it right down the middle. 2 goals already in this tournament. He set up the goal for his team to open up the first half. And Bobby, that is a bold start.
First of all, I would have thought from this game that Corbino was left-footed. Just shows how good he is with both feet. And you generally want your best PK taker to go first. You want to get an early lead to relieve the pressure on the rest. Corbino showed why they trust him so much.
What can King do in goal now for TFC? He stretches out. And the shot put over the top.
Dude, one thing PK takers know is if you can get above the waist or above the midline of the goal, a goalkeeper generally won't save it because goalies almost always dive low and they go to a side. So if you can get it above waist height, goalkeepers can't get back over there, and you know you'll make it if you hit that spot. The problem is we see what just happened and it goes over. High risk, high reward if you're going to try and go above waist height on a penalty.
Jason Russell-Rowe stepping up, the young Canadian, one of the bright stars of the TFC Academy. We'll try and make it 2-0 here, as we've got an issue with the top of the goal, as the net's now been fixed. Russell-Rowe. It looked like at the last second there, Montagnino got a touch to it, but Russell-Rowe scores.
Point made, David. The goalkeeper picked the right side, but Russell Rowe went above the midline of the goal, and a goalkeeper will almost never save that. So if you can hit that higher spot, you protect yourself against the goalkeeper picking the right side.
Well, Beltran thought he'd won this game, and for all intents and purposes, he did for River with that goal, his third goal in the last 2 games, which have all come in the last 24 hours. He now steps up to this penalty kick spot, star center forward. A long run up here for Beltran. And he blasts it into the corner as King guesses the right way. But it doesn't matter.
As we move into the third PK, the takers now had a chance to watch the goalies. You've had an opportunity to assess, does he leave early and guess, or does he hold his spot and try and evaluate your shot? If he leaves early, you know you can take your chance going down the middle. If he holds his spot, then it gives you a little more confidence to just pick your spot because you know he's going to be late and not jump to get there quickly.
It'll be Robinson to step up. So substitute back-to-back shooters. And that one off the hands again there of Montagnino, and another one that he can't keep out. River Plate have already won the group. TFC fighting for a chance to get second place here in Group A. Penalty kick coming number 3. And King guesses the correct way again, and he can't make the save.
I would correct that real quick, David. He didn't guess the right way. You could see that he was late. He saw where the ball was going. If he had guessed that, most goalkeepers at this level, if they guess and they leave when the ball's kicked or before, they'll get to their spot. I would say that King was a little reactive there, which is fine. It's just a choice a goalkeeper makes.
Nelson steps up. I thought he had one of the better games for TFC here today, trying to create on that left wing. Trying to keep TFC ahead. And his shot finally saved.
And that was a goalkeeper guessing. You could see him moving his feet, and he left his center area even before Nelson had taken his shot.
Montagnino had gotten his hand on 3 of 4 shots, and he finally makes a save. So TFC now tied 3-3. Sorry, TFC leading 3-2 right now. And the next shooter coming here for this River team. And the left-footed strike placed easily into the corner. So now this TFC team has to stay ahead as Guzman puts his in.
And we talk about the cat and mouse game between shooters and goalkeepers there. We just talked about how King reacts to movement from the shooters. That River shooter steps up, feints, has King act on his movement, and then he sends it the other way.
Asusi now to shoot. His left-footed shot's blasted over the top. And River can win it here with the make.
So unfair. Asusi's been so good all game, and that's going to be his last kick. You have to feel for the kid.
So now River Plate steps up, currently sitting on a minimum of 7 points. A win in Group A. They can move to 8 points with a penalty kick victory here. DC United has won on the other field. So if TFC can make a save here, they've got a chance to move into second place. King hits the crossbar again to show some intimidation. The right-footed shot put off that bar and missed. A chance to put this game away for River. Roman Suarez, the center back, stepping up to take it. And he puts it, Bobby, off the crossbar.
And I want to give King credit. because he's not hitting the crossbar to look stupid. He's not hitting the crossbar to draw attention to himself. He's trying to be as big as possible in the eye line of the taker. And when a goalkeeper does get big like that, the goal looks smaller, it psychs you out, you feel like you've got to hit a smaller area, and then something like that happens.
Femi on Logu with his shot, and he puts TFC ahead. So now Toronto FC can win it with a save or miss here from King. Sudden death penalty kicks. As dramatic as it gets, even though River are already through, you can see the tension on every player's face as the two teams stand on the sideline and the midfield line, waiting and watching. To close out group stage play here, this could be the final kick if King can save it. The right-footed shot on the ground. No stress, and easily scored there by Guillen.
I liked how Guillen took a breath. Studies have shown that the faster you shoot after the referee blows his whistle, the more likely you are to miss.
Is that true?
If you take that extra second,
wow.
The book Soccernomics, I believe.
I've read that book. Clearly, I've retained less of it than you.
If you take that extra second, take a deep breath, and calm your mind, it gives you a better shot.
Halley, the 7th shooter here for TFC. And he puts Toronto ahead again. What a performance so far from Montagnino. He's gotten to touch almost every shot for TFC, but he could not save it. And once again, River steps up. If King can save it, TFC gets the win.
David, it feels like River's due for a shot down the middle here.
Yeah, we haven't seen that yet. We saw TFC Corbinu start this shootout with a chip down the middle. We haven't seen River go that way, although Paz put it over, so we don't really know where he hit that one.
King is feeling confident. Generally, the more confident a goalie he is, the more likely he is to guess.
This shot put into the corner. Bobby, we are not going anywhere anytime soon as Castro scores his opportunity. Bobby, for young players, these are some really good PKs.
It's a joy to watch good PKs taken, isn't it?
Bobby, really good news. We are only a few shots away from seeing goalkeepers step up and go toe-to-toe.
You know, when you say that, the only thing that comes to mind is that we almost got to see Jimmy Nielsen take a penalty kick for Sporting Kansas City in 2013.
TFC. And that one right down the middle like you asked for, Bobby. And simply saved. Montagnino, Bobby, had guessed every single time. He stays to the middle, and now look. He's going to step up to the spot himself to try and win it. As good as it gets here.
He's taking the gloves off. He's taking the gloves off, David. I wasn't ready for this tonight.
Montagnino here. The 9th shooter to win it for River. And he puts it in and wins it for his team.
Gloveless and everything.
The goalkeeping hero, Montagnino, makes the save on the 9th shot and then finishes it himself to get the win. River Plate win Group A on 8 points, and they are headed to the semifinal to try and defend their title for a 4th straight year.
That was a good game. Enjoyable game to watch. A nice nightcap to our day.
What a performance by both these teams, as you've said. Toronto FC, they're back against the wall, come out. They get the 11th minute lead. They hold it for a little over 15 minutes. They fight back in the second half. They score in stoppage time to force it to PKs before ending up losing in the PK shootout.
Toronto put in one of the better performances we've seen from an MLS Academy against an international opponent. Just not enough today, but certainly ideas they can take back to the training field to improve for the future.
Bobby, we'll be back on Thursday for semifinals, the two in the Premier Division. Seattle versus Montreal. Monterrey still awaiting their opponent. And then we've got Flamengo and Atletico Paranaense from Brazil. we've got River Plate, we've got Pachuca. Doesn't get much better than that.
It's going to be a fun couple days.
Stick to MLSsoccer.com for all your GA Cup coverage, and we'll be back in a few days. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great night.